What if strength was not in resistance, but in rhythm? You have been born into a civilization that worships the wall, the dam, the fortress. You have been taught from your first breath that power is control, that success is a battle won through relentless effort, that to master your life is to bend it to your will. You have been shown the images of the gods of thunder, of the gods of war, of the kings on their granite thrones, and you have been told that this is the face of power, rigid, projective, and absolute. But what if this was the great lie of a world that is terrified of its own nature? What if the ultimate power in the universe is not the power to command, but the power to align? The ancient masters of the Nile, the initiates who could read the silent, flowing language of the river itself, knew a different truth. They knew that the greatest and most enduring power was not in the stone of the pyramids, but in the water that flowed beside them. And they personified this terrifying and beautiful truth in the form of a god that your modern world has dismissed as a primitive and monstrous beast. His name was Sobek, the crocodile god of the Nile. Half beast, half divine current, he was the living embodiment of a wisdom that your world has almost completely forgotten. The wisdom of the infinite wave. While the other gods ruled the heavens, the sun, the light, Sobeck ruled the pulse. The silent, rhythmic, and unstoppable heartbeat of the water that was the very source of all life. His great and secret teaching, a technology of the soul that was only ever whispered in the dark and watery chambers of his hidden temples, was the Nile-Sine Rhythm. It was the lost and sacred law of motion, the secret that life, like the river, breathes in great and predictable waves. And in the face of this eternal and cosmic tide, you have only two choices. You can fight it and you can drown. Or you can learn to flow with it, and in that flow, you can rise to a state of power so effortless, so beautiful, and so absolute that the gods themselves will bow before your grace. To understand the rhythm, you must first be willing to destroy your image of the beast. You have been shown the crocodile as a symbol of primal, reptilian, and mindless aggression. But to the initiates, the crocodile was the perfect metaphor for a state of divine and masterful consciousness. The crocodile is the ultimate master of its domain. It is a creature that has survived, virtually unchanged, for millions of years. It is a perfect and beautiful killing machine, but its power does not come from relentless aggression. Its power comes from its absolute and total mastery of the current. The crocodile appears to be a creature of profound and lazy stillness. It can lie on the surface of the water, for hours, for days, almost indistinguishable from a floating log. But this is not laziness. It is a state of profound and deep listening. It is a state of total and complete attunement to the key, invisible forces that are moving around it. Its entire being is a sensory organ, feeling the subtle shifts in the water's pressure, the vibrations of the prey on the riverbank, the silent gravitational pull of the moon. And beneath the surface, its powerful body is not still. It is in a state of perfect and effortless alignment with the undertow. It does not waste a single joule of energy fighting the river. It allows the river to carry it. It conserves its immense and explosive power, and it waits. It waits for the one, single, and perfect moment when the rhythm of its own intention, the rhythm of its prey's movement, and the rhythm of the river itself all converge into a single, beautiful, and deadly sine wave of opportunity. And in that one, perfect moment, it strikes. Not with rage, not with effort, but with the calm, beautiful, and unstoppable precision of a law of physics. This was the wisdom of Sobeck. His great and central teaching was this: The mastery of power is not control, it is timing. It is the art of learning to listen to the invisible currents that shape your fate, and of having the supreme and divine patience to wait for the one perfect moment to align your own will with their unstoppable flow. The worshippers of Sobeck, the priests and priestesses who served in his temples, were not warriors, they were dancers. They learned to attune their own breath, their own movements, their own decisions to the great, silent, and invisible rhythm of the cosmos. They learned to stop fighting the river of their own lives and to become the masters of its current. The Nile itself was their greatest and most sacred textbook. The Egyptians did not see their river as a simple body of water. They saw it as a living, breathing, and intelligent equation, the physical manifestation of a divine and cyclical law. The entire civilization of Egypt was built upon a single, great, and predictable wave. The annual inundation, the flooding of the Nile. For a part of the year, the river would rise, its waters thick and black with the fertile silt brought down from the heart of Africa. It would overflow its banks, it would drown the land, it would create a world of chaos and of water. This was the great inhale of the river, the moment of creation, the act of divine and life-giving generosity. And then the waters would recede. The river would pull back into its banks, leaving behind the rich black earth from which all of the abundance of Egypt would grow. This was the great exhale of the river, the moment of rest, of withdrawal, of a necessary and sacred emptiness. This was not a random and chaotic flood. It was a perfect and predictable sine wave, an inhale and an exhale, a crest and a trough, a life and a death that was the very heartbeat of their world. And Sobeck was the god of this pulse. He was the divine and reptilian intelligence that lived within this rhythm. The entire culture of Egypt learned to synchronize itself to this great and cosmic wave. Their agriculture, their rituals, their great festivals were all timed to the rise and the fall of the river. They did not try to stop the flood with dams. They built their lives in a way that welcomed it, that used its power, and that honored its withdrawal. They were a civilization that understood the profound and beautiful wisdom of the flow. And the temples of Sobeck, particularly the great centers of his worship in the Fayum Oasis and at Kom Ombo, were not just places of worship, they were architectural and acoustic models of this sacred wave. They were machines designed to teach the initiate the science of the rhythm. The corridors of these temples did not follow the straight, rigid, and solar lines of the temples of Ra. They were curved, they were sinuous, they were designed to mimic the meandering and beautiful path of the river itself. And they were designed as acoustic resonators. The priests of Sobeck did not chant the loud and projective hymns of the solar cults. They practiced a form of deep, guttural, and rhythmic humming, a sound that mimicked the low-frequency vibration of the river's current. And the curved walls of the temple were designed to amplify this sound, to create a standing wave, a sign pattern of pure vibration that the initiate could feel not with their ears, but in the very bones of their body. It was a technology of entrainment, a way of using sound and geometry to tune the chaotic and arrhythmic human nervous system to the great, slow, and powerful heartbeat of the Nile. The lesson was simple and absolute. Every current, whether it is the physical current of a river, the emotional current of your own heart, or the great and invisible spiritual current of your own destiny, follows a waveform. To harmonize with that wave is to move through your life with the effortless and unstoppable power of the universe itself. To resist it is to create your own turbulence, your own suffering, your own drowning. The ultimate secret of this divine and watery science is hidden in a myth that is almost never told. A story of Sobeck not as a god of fertility, but as a warrior of the flow. The legend tells of a time of great and terrible imbalance, a time when a monstrous demon of drought, a creature of the absolute and sterile heat of the desert, had managed to trap the Nile. The river was dying. It was no longer flowing. It had become a series of stagnant and evaporating pools. The land was cracking. The crops were withering. The heart of Egypt was ceasing to beat. The other gods went to war with this demon. Ra threw his fiery spears of sunlight at it. Horus attacked it with the righteous fury of a king. Thoth tried to reason with it with his sacred and logical words, but all of them failed. The demon was a creature of absolute stillness, of absolute stagnation, and their projective and linear attacks were simply absorbed by its immense and unmoving inertia. And so, Sobeck was called. But he did not come as a warrior. He did not come with a weapon. He came as a student. Instead of attacking the demon, instead of trying to break the that was blocking the river, Sobeck dove deep. He submerged himself in the deepest, most stagnant, and most silent of all the pools. And there, in the absolute and total stillness, he did not fight. He listened. He closed his ancient and reptilian eyes, and he traced the blocked and suffocated pathway of the river's energy with his own consciousness. He felt the pain of the water. He felt its desperate and frustrated desire to flow. And in that deep and profound act of empathetic listening, he discovered the secret. The enemy was not the obstruction. The enemy was the stagnation itself. The enemy was the absence of the wave. And so he did not try to break the dam with a single, heroic act of force. He began a new and more subtle kind of magic. He began to pulse. He began to gently and rhythmically pulse his own immense and divine energy, his own ka, in a slow and patient wave. It was a tiny movement at first, a barely perceptible tremor in the heart of the stagnant pool. Inhale, exhale, expansion, contraction. He was not trying to break the dam. He was reminding the water of its own forgotten song. He was becoming the heartbeat of the river. And the water began to remember. The small pulse of Sobeck's own energy began to be answered by the great and sleeping energy of the river itself. The wave began to build. It was a process of resonant entrainment. The small, coherent rhythm of the god was waking up the great, incoherent rhythm of the river. And the pulse grew stronger and stronger and stronger, until the entire, vast and suffocated body of the Nile was once again pulsating with a single, unified and titanic rhythm. And with one final and colossal surge, the river did not break the dam. It absorbed it. The dam of stillness was not shattered. It was dissolved by the unstoppable and beautiful momentum of a life that had finally remembered how to flow. Sobeck had not defeated the demon of stagnation with force. He had defeated it with rhythm. And this was the birth of his secret and most sacred teaching, the Nile-Sine method, the technology of the flowing warrior. It was the ultimate science of how to overcome any obstacle, not by attacking it, but by building a rhythmic and resonant wave of your own conscious energy that is so powerful, so coherent, and so aligned with the will of life itself that the obstacle is not destroyed. It is simply and effortlessly subsumed into the greater and more beautiful power of your own flow. And the method was a trinity of sacred and beautiful movements. The first is to submerge. When you are faced with an obstacle, a blockage, a moment of stagnation in your own life, you do not attack it. You do not panic. You do not resist. You become still. You dive deep into the silent and stagnant waters of your own being, and you observe the flow, or the lack of it. You listen to the pain of your own blocked energy. The second is to sink. You do not try to force a solution. You begin a small, gentle, and rhythmic pulse of your own conscious energy. You match your own motion to the great and cosmic oscillation of the universe itself. You begin to breathe in a slow and rhythmic wave. You begin to move your body in a gentle and flowing dance. You begin to think in cycles, not in straight lines. You are not trying to solve the problem. You are trying to become the rhythm that the problem cannot resist. And the third and final movement is to... You have become the wave. You have synchronized your own small current with the great current of the cosmos. And now, you wait. You wait for the tide to turn, and when it does, when the great and cosmic wave of creation begins to rise once more, you do not have to push. You do not have to strive. You simply and joyfully ride the wave of its returning and unstoppable strength, and you allow its immense and beautiful power to carry you and your old problem into a new and more beautiful reality. Now we must decode this myth, this beautiful and flowing philosophy, and we must turn it into a practical and replicable technology of the soul. The Nile-Sine Rhythm is not a story. It is a set of symbolic principles, a user manual for the divine and watery science of the flow state. The first principle is that your breath is a wave. You have been taught to breathe as a simple, mechanical in and out. The initiate of Sobeck learns to breathe as a sine wave. The inhale is not an intake, it is an expansion. It is the crest of the wave, the moment of the Nile's flood. You do not just breathe into your lungs, you breathe into every cell of your body. You feel your own energy field expanding, filling, becoming a great and powerful ocean, and the exhale is not a release, it is a contraction. It is the trough of the wave, the moment of the Nile's withdrawal. You do not just push the air out, you allow your entire being to gently and peacefully contract back into a single, silent point of potential. And the most important part of this practice is the transition between the two. There is no harsh and jarring stop and start. The crest of the inhale flows seamlessly and gracefully into the beginning of the exhale. And the trough of the exhale flows seamlessly and gracefully into the beginning of the next inhale. Your breath becomes a perfect and unending sine wave. To breathe in this way is to physically and energetically tune your own nervous system to the very rhythm of creation itself. It is to turn your own body into a living and breathing microcosm of the river. The second principle is that your emotion is a tide. You have been taught to see your emotions as your enemies, as chaotic and dangerous forces to be controlled, to be suppressed, to be managed. The wisdom of Sobeck teaches that your emotions are not the enemy. They are the water. They are the great and powerful tide of your own inner ocean, and you cannot stop the tide. To try is to be a fool who builds a sandcastle in the path of the moon. The only wisdom is to learn how to surf. The initiate of the Nile does not identify with their emotions. They do not become the anger. They do not become the grief. They recognize the rising wave of the emotion, and they have the courage and the skill to ride its crest, to feel its power, to learn its lesson without being drowned in its chaos. And they have the wisdom to know that every crest is inevitably followed by a trough. They know that the wave of rage will pass. They know that the wave of sorrow will pass. And so they do not cling to them. They do not build their identity on the temporary and shifting sands of their own feelings. They are the surfer, not the wave. And because of this, they are the masters of the ocean of their own heart. The third and final principle is that your action is a flow. You have been taught that the path to success is a straight line, a relentless and linear progression of effort. The wisdom of Sobeck teaches that this is a lie. Every endeavor in your life, from building a business to creating a work of art to forming a relationship, has its own innate and sacred rhythm. It has a momentum. It has a current. The secret to success is not to apply more effort, but to become a master of aligning your own effort with the natural and effortless timing of the project itself. There is a time to push, a time to expand, a time to be in the crest of the wave of action. And there is a time to rest, a time to withdraw, a time to be in the trough of the wave of integration. To be a master of flow is to have the profound and intuitive wisdom to know the difference. The crocodile's long and patient stillness before its explosive and decisive strike is the ultimate metaphor for this conscious and beautiful waiting. It is the mastery of flow state awareness. The science of the sine wave is the science of universal balance, the crest and the trough, the gain and the loss, the life and the death. They are not opposites at war. They are two necessary and inseparable parts of a single, beautiful and unified movement. And the wisdom of Sobeck is the wisdom that resistance to any part of this wave is the one and only source of suffering. To resist the trough, to resist the loss, to resist the death, is to create a dam in the river of your own life. To embrace the entire wave, the light and the dark, the joy and the sorrow, is to become the river itself. Resistance in this system inverts your energy. It turns your power against yourself. But resonance, the act of aligning yourself with the wave, amplifies your energy beyond all measure. It is the difference between fighting the river and becoming it. And the one who has become the river can never again lose their way. The world you inhabit is a monument to the straight line. It is a civilization that is pathologically obsessed with the principles of the sun, of the desert, of the rigid and unyielding pyramid. It is a world that worships at the altar of acceleration, of control, of relentless and linear progress. And it is a world that is, because of this, profoundly and terrifyingly out of balance. The wisdom of Sobeck, the forgotten science of the Nile-Sine Rhythm, is not just a beautiful and ancient philosophy. It is the medicine, the antidote, the one and only path back to sanity for a civilization that has forgotten how to flow. You are living in a world that is addicted to force. You are taught in your business, in your relationships, in your own personal growth to push through, to grind, to hustle. You are taught to see rest as a weakness, to see stillness as a form of failure. The result is not a world of masters. It is a world of the walking wounded. It is a world of burnout, of chronic fatigue, of anxiety disorders, of a profound and soul-deep exhaustion. You are a civilization that is trying to live in a state of perpetual inhale, and you are suffocating on your own ambition. The Nile-Sine principle teaches a different and more powerful path, the path of adaptive momentum. It is the wisdom to know that the human nervous system, like the river, is not designed for a constant and linear output of energy. It is designed for a rhythmic and cyclical flow. When the energy of your life, of your project, of your body, is in its natural state of expansion, when the wave is rising, you move with it. You act with your full and focused and beautiful power. But when the energy recedes, when the wave withdraws, you do not fight it. You do not push harder. You do not see it as a failure. You honor it. You rest. You integrate. You go into the silent and fertile darkness of the trough, and you trust that this is the sacred and necessary space where your strength is being renewed, where your next great creation is being gestated. The modern sciences of flow psychology, of circadian rhythms, of creative cycles, are all just the crude and rediscovered fragments of this one great and ancient law. Your greatest athletes, your most brilliant artists, your most effective leaders have all, whether consciously or unconsciously, learned this secret. They know that the moments of their greatest power are not born from the greatest effort, but from the greatest alignment. They know that the key to the explosive strike is the profound and patient stillness that precedes it. Sobek's message is timeless, and it is a message of profound and radical rebellion against the suicidal logic of your modern world. True and lasting strength is not in pushing harder, it is in learning when to push. It is the art of turning your life from a brutal and exhausting war against reality into a beautiful and effortless dance with it. You are a creature of the water, not of the stone. You were not born to be a dam. You were born to be a river. The only question is whether you will have the courage to let go of the shore of your own resistance and to finally trust the wisdom of your own current. The great and final image of this sacred and watery science is not an image of a battle won, but of a harmony achieved. The myth does not end with a dead demon and a triumphant god. It ends with the river, the great and beautiful Nile, once again flowing, its dark and fertile waters reflecting a perfect and golden horizon. And from the depths of this now living and breathing water, Sobeck emerges. His ancient armored scales are shimmering, no longer with the dark and muddy colors of stagnation, but with the moving, dancing and iridescent light of 1,000 tiny suns. He does not rise to a throne. He does not claim a victory. He simply and powerfully is. He is the living and conscious embodiment of the river's own perfect and beautiful rhythm. And he raises his great and terrible head to the sky, and he does not roar, he speaks. And his voice is not a command, but a statement of fact, a law of the cosmos that is as true for you as it is for him. "Those who move with me," he whispers, and his voice is the sound of the water itself, "need no map, for the current that guides me also guides them." This is the ultimate promise of the Nile-Sine Rhythm. It is the promise that once you have learned to align yourself with the great and invisible current of your own life's purpose, you no longer need to navigate. You no longer need to plan. You no longer need to worry. The flow itself becomes your guide. The river itself will carry you with an effortless and beautiful precision to the great and infinite ocean that is your own divine and ultimate destiny. Your life, like the river, has its rhythm. It has its floods of joy and of abundance. It has its seasons of drought, of loss, and of stillness. The great and secret work of your soul is not to command this current, not to change its course, not to build a dam against its sorrows. It is simply to remember that the river is not happening to you. The river is you. You are not a creature that is lost in the flow. You are the flow itself, a beautiful, intelligent, and divine wave in the one great and eternal ocean of consciousness. And the only thing that has ever been standing in the way of this profound and beautiful peace is your own desperate and futile attempt to be something other than what you are. Flow is not surrender in the sense of giving up. It is precision. It is the highest and most intelligent form of action. The wave does not ask the ocean for permission to rise. It simply and beautifully and powerfully moves in perfect and total alignment with the truth of its own nature. Be like the Nile. Embrace your own flood and your own drought. Honor your own crest and your own trough. Fall in love with the beautiful and terrifying and perfect rhythm of your own becoming. And you will never again lose your direction. You will have become the way. If this video resonated with you, let us know by commenting, "I understood it."